Artist Talks episode number 6. My name is Anton Waldbauer. Before we go any further, please consider supporting us by subscribing to this channel and sharing this video with your friends. This way, you won't miss any of our new episodes. Today, our special guest is a young, talented choreographer, Andrea Costanza Martini. Andrea is a former dancer with Batsheva Dance Company and Cullberg Ballet in Sweden, winner of International Stuttgart solo competition and Mas Danza in Spain. In 2018, his work SCARABAEUS was chosen as part of Aerowaves festival. I'm very happy to have Andrea for the interview today. Let's have a look at some of his work.
Yeah.
Hello, Andrea.
Hi. Hello.
Thank you so much for agreeing to do this interview. It's great to have you.
Thank you for inviting me.
Let's jump straight to some questions, okay?
Okay.
Tell us, please, about your upbringing as a child and when and how you met dance in your life.
I was born in the province in Italy, up north, in a very small village. And my first years I lived in a farm with animals, with a lot of space. I always danced a little bit, but I never had a very early call, you know. Life, I remember I saw a concert of Michael Jackson and I just realized that I really loved to move that way. And I remember I recorded this videotape and watched it over and over and over and just learned the whole concert, every move. And then eventually my mother saw that I was so passionate about dancing, but I wasn't really open to, ask to go to learn it. It never really crossed my mind that there was such a thing. My mother that said, "You love dancing? Why don't you try?" And then, from a very small school in the city next to my village, I started. And only when I was already in high school, I decided that there was a chance that this would be my profession. I had the dream, but didn't really look immediately possible. And then at a certain point, it became clear that it was actually a possibility.
And so when you were a little bit older, at some point you moved to Germany. So
Yeah.
why did you make this move away from Italy?
And in that period, I was really curious about ballet. And they told me about the school, Heinz Bosel Stiftung in Munich. And I went to audition there, and something about that school attracted me more. It was very strict. I watched really strict school of ballet, but I loved ballet. And the idea that I could do that really attracted me. I got my first job in a company called Alto Theater Essen.
When did you discover Batsheva company or the work of Ohad or the whole, Gaga movement culture?
I saw a piece from Ohad performed in Munich when I was in the school by Le Ballet Canadien. And then a friend of mine just showed me a video of NDT2 doing a piece of Ohad. And I remember that I was mostly bored by choreography. And by what I was seeing, I really liked ballet. I just wanted to do variations. And then I saw this and I was like, wow, this is great. This is really great. And my idea was to join NDT. I wanted to be an NDT dancer, to do Killian, to do all these beautiful things. And then I thought, wow, it's so cool. They do also this Ohad Naharin thing. Yeah. I didn't get in NDT. And it was really heartbreaking for me at the time. But at the same time, I thought, why not to audition for Batsheva? I thought it was a very minor contemporary company at the time. I was so much into ballet. And so I went to audition to Batsheva very nonchalant. And then I got in, weirdly enough. Then I got to know the work of Ohad. I didn't really know so much about it before. I can say it now. Back then I was hiding it. I was like, yeah, I know.
So you got yourself into something you didn't know.
Yeah. Totally. And Gaga, I've never heard of it. until I joined the company. And then I did this class. I was like, oh, that's cool. I like it. But I didn't even understand it was like a thing.
And now that you spent a couple of seasons with the company, how was your experience dancing for this company and more specifically working with Ohad directly on a daily basis?
It was very special. I think my years in Batsheva were like a gift. It was my formation for me. I wouldn't say just in dance, but like in artistic thought. This is what formed me. Like it was so intense, you know, to be with someone that really worked so much with this art form. So it was amazing. It was very challenging. Ohad is a very demanding person to work for, physically and also as dedication. 4 years in Batsheva, I remember them as Batsheva. Like I was just there with my head, with my body all day. I was living in Batsheva. That's what we did. I think it was great. It was really enriching. It was a playground there. There were many personalities in the company that then continued to be choreographers as well. And it was a really powerful combination of people.
In 2010, you moved to Sweden and joined another quite famous company, Cullberg. What was it like to work for this company? Very different from Batsheva.
My dream was to work with Matzek. And as usual, I didn't get so informed before auditioning. So I auditioned for a company that already changed. Although it didn't meet my expectations in that sense, the company was in a very interesting moment of transformation. We were a bunch of really cool people. I have to say, we joined the company in 6. I think it's the year that you left, right? I don't remember. Like I know that we crossed over. I learned one of your parts actually.
Yes.
This group is what stayed the most in my heart. Like I'm still in contact with them, and I think it was so special. Like we were all coming from very strong experiences.
Yeah.
I felt that for me it was a moment that I was ready to let go a little bit of my ego as a dancer, you know, to come and dance what there is to dance. And we worked with really interesting people in that period. I did a piece of Benoit Lachambre that was really so inspiring, so different from what I did before. I worked with Deborah Hay. It was the final project, and that also was like mind-blowing for me. So it wasn't what I expected, but I have to say that it was really milestone for me also artistically, in the sense that these meetings did something to what I became after.
Yes. With one of your first choreographies, which is the title What Happened in Torino. How did you discover curiosity for choreography?
I've always been curious about choreography in the sense of like creating a show, and the idea of like what do you put on stage for me has always been interesting, together with movement, together with everything. But it was really a place of freedom for me, always choreography, you know, because I feel I don't know how you do it. I just do it. And regarding What Happened in Torino, that was my first solo work. And actually it was immediately after the work with Deborah Hay. So I took something from her that was this idea to be in a studio and just work without a specific aim, without a structure already of what the solo will be. It was really a work that came inside out. I wasn't sure that I liked it or I didn't like it. I was happy of working on it. I could be hours, you know, watching the videos, editing the music, making choices of milliseconds of, and it was the first work that I think had an exposure.
So with this work, you won both of the prizes in a Stuttgart solo dance competition, both for audience prize and also first prize for choreography. What that meant for you at that moment in your life?
Professionally, like as you know, opportunities, it didn't mean a lot. I got a very nice prize, like substantial, which was great.
Yeah.
I needed it, but it was more important for me to get a confirmation that, wow, I can do this. I was struck by surprise. This marked the point that this is what I'm going to do.
Yeah.
And it was
So further on, in 2018, you made another wonderful work, Scarabeo, Angels and the Void, which was selected for Aerowaves 20 festival. What this festival gave you, and how was the experience to be part of this festival?
It's interesting because actually this festival gave me great amount of professional possibilities. It was incredible. The work was selected, and before even we had the showing in the festival, I got invitations from, I think, like 15 partners to perform. And that was really incredible because it was like a chain reaction, you know? You get to perform a lot of times, so the work grows. And also, it created a bridge into the more the production work. Meeting people, meeting production houses. This was the first time that I saw there is a system, and in this case, it's served to you on a silver plate. Really, and actually, just for people that want to apply to know, I don't remember if I applied twice before. I really encourage people that want to do it, apply. Not the first time, not the second, the third time.
Yeah. Can you just briefly tell a little bit about this work as a whole?
The work started from a totally different idea. It was the idea to explore what is it to be an object on stage. Somehow we discovered this idea of like a competition through sounds. Which is totally fake, but we love the silliness. And to take something so serious, knowing that it's totally fake, and knowing that everybody in the audience knows that it's fake. Yeah, so the piece just became a sort of a duel, a fight for attention between me and this friend on stage.
I could see, apart from very intellectual approach to movement and physicality, also very strong use of humor. And I wanted to ask you, is it something intentional that you work on, or it's just something that happens naturally for you?
It's both things. Let's say that it happens naturally. For me, laughter is really a compass of hitting the target. I really believe that when you laugh, it's because something is exposed. I do look sometimes for like a funny situation, but I try to keep the funny in the area of happening. Actually, sometimes I even give myself a task, don't try to be funny. And then humor always makes its way in for me. If I can do something that has an aesthetic value, and on top of it, it makes me laugh, why not? Like, it's a bonus. It allows me to see movement in a even better way. When you laugh, you're open to receive. And then, you know, after you laughed, you are still open. And then you can take in so much more, I think.
And another great work of yours, it's titled Physicality. And this work deals with the scene of vanity. Why to you the subject of scene of vanity was important to explore?
I think that in my artistic life, the question of being seen, of putting my body on stage, has always been very present. And for me, it is also connected to vanity. the pleasure of being looked, pleasure of doing something great and knowing that people know that it's great. The idea of this work was to explore medieval world. I wanted to find something that for me connects to the idea of medieval, and this view of the scenes, this heavy Christianity was really calling me. And then I chose one because that really reflected. And there were some scenes of nude. And
Yes.
for me, it was interesting in this sense, like how can the nude be like a position of vanity and not of victim? How can I offer my body in a way where I'm totally happy of it and totally fulfilled by it? It's also a way for maybe to see vanity not in such a bad light, but as something, a bit of vanity. I think it's good. It's good to feel beautiful.
Where does the inspiration come for you?
Wow, good question. Frankly, I don't know. From small moments, I never have a big idea. I had very small ideas that grew, that worked like anchors. If I think about a piece, I never have the full image, but I have maybe a glimpse of like, it would be beautiful if this one thing would happen. Most of the time, that thing is about 5 seconds out of like a full evening, but it's enough to give me a taste of what I'm going to search. And then inspiration comes from work, I think. You are in the studio and you work with talented people. The more and more I go on, the more I see that who is around me is what makes the work. My job, I feel it's like to organize that. Most of the time, I find someone that I say like, I would like to work with this person, and I have no idea what I'm going to do. I like the unpredictability of what comes out.
And is there artist that you would like to collaborate with at some point in your career?
Actually, there is an artist that in dance, she's Italian. Her name is Silvia Gribaldi. We actually already started to talk about a possible collaboration. I love her work. She works a lot with humor in a very intentional way, the smartest way ever. I find her poetic very beautiful. I have an ongoing collaboration actually with my husband that is a light designer. He is also like a very inspiring person.
Tell us your hope for the future.
I would love to continue doing what I'm doing. I'm very interested in working with larger groups. It's something that in our time is difficult to do, because of economy, and there is a lot of questions about it, especially now after this corona time of isolation. I went back in Israel to work with a group of students, and I realized the need of dancing together, because I concentrated so much on smaller works, like with fewer people. Working with groups really allows me to explore more composition, which is a tool that it's relatively fresh for me.
Yes.
And that I discovered that I really enjoy working with. And then in the future is to either have my own group of dancers. It's always weird, to say my own. It's like, but to work with more people on stage. That would be really something that I would love to do.
Why dance is important?
Also, big question. I can say, first of all, that for me it's important because this is how I go through the world. I need to move. I need to sweat. I need to find effort. I need to set challenges, and I do it through my body. I think dance for me it's definitely part of being human, which is not connected to necessity or survival. And because of that, it's so necessary. It's the protection against being a machine that just eats and produces. It's like, why do we dance? It's so unuseful. And I love that. It's like about celebrating, celebrating life. And I think that if I can encourage people to dance, that's great. I think even more important than watching dance is to dance.
Thank you for watching today's episode. I hope you found it interesting. And if so, please consider sharing this video with your friend. Subscribe to our channel or hit the like